Well, Jasco Electronics revenue for the 6 months to December increased by 55% to 494 million rand, while headline earnings per share jumped 96% to 6.9 cents. Joining us in studio to unpack the results is this company CEO, Pete Silva. Very warm welcome to you, Pete.
Good to be here.
I was asking you what the main contributor for these results were, and you were talking to me about integration and integrating in the group.
Yeah, it's all of the above. When we presented the strategy to acquire Spescom, which we acquired in December 2010, we looked at it and said the value is not in the standalone Spescom or the standalone Jasco, it's by putting the two together. And if I equate it to an egg, we could have fried both eggs and kept them separate in a pan, or we could have done scrambled eggs, and we went for the scrambled option. And I put it to everybody this morning in our shareholder meeting that that's where the intrinsic values come from. There were gaps in both companies' offerings in terms of their sales force and in terms of their strategy. Putting that together, that brought the benefit that we're seeing today.
I want to talk a little bit about acquisitions. In 2009, you acquired about 30% of Moringa. Now you're telling me that you've done 100% acquisition of that, and then Spescom seems to have had quite a huge contribution in these results. Just talk to us a little bit about your acquisition strategy going forward.
Our acquisition, we're a small cap. So we've got to be careful. We don't have the balance sheet. And I've always said that our strategy is going to be what I call bolt-on acquisitions, or to be more precise, small bolt-on acquisitions. We've just completed one now. We announced in the energy space called Ferrotech, or Ferro-Resonant Technologies. It was a 13 million acquisition, and doing forward earnings, I think, of 4.8. So it's going to be value adding right from the beginning. But it's going to add intrinsic value to our offerings to the clients. Same as Moringa. I see the opportunity in Moringa, and one of the strategies, we bought out all minorities that do not add value. If you're not an international strategic partner, if you're not adding value, I don't want you part of this cake. I'm buying you out, and we've done that.
I want to talk a little bit about the former CEO, Martin Lotz, who you took over from, and he was quoted to have said that Spescom acquisition positioned Jasco to reach the target of 1 billion rand revenue within the next financial year. Now the group revenue has just been under 500 million so far. Going forward, do you think that you're going to make that 1 billion that he had envisioned?
Look, at the end of the day, we shouldn't speculate. But if you take the current figures, which is closest damn to 500, you multiply that by 2 and you can come up with your own figures. But that's not the end of the game. That's the start of the game. I didn't come on board to take Jasco to 500 million or 1 billion. We got much bigger plans for Jasco, allowing that we can leverage all the assets that we got on the balance sheet, and slowly we get there. I presented my 2 to 3 year strategy to the board, and we're 6 months into that.
I was talking to you about you coming in at it seems like there were a lot of balls to be balancing when you came on board so far. And one of the things that you have been doing, you said, in the past 6 months has been restructuring and making sure that you've got a lean, mean machine. Talk to us a little bit about going forward. If you see any more of that, you were saying, if we continue with global uncertainty, there might be a chance of that happening. Look,
yes, you can never foretell. Early this morning I was looking at the channels, and they were quite dire in terms of Europe and Greece again. And we can't influence that. What I can do, running a small listed company, is react to the opportunities and react to the threats. And I assure you, we react very, very quickly to both. And that's what we've done. We've restructured Jasco, included Spescom. I cannot tell what is Spescom business and what is Jasco business anymore. And that tells me that the integration was successful. Done, dusted. Now we have to see some of the businesses that were on their own with CEOs and CFOs leading them were just not big enough. So we've taken layers of management out, and we combined businesses to make them stronger and not necessarily standalone. Sometimes standalone is not the answer. We've completed all of that. We went through quite an intensive restructuring these last 6 months. Is at the end? You can never say if it's the end, depending what threats or opportunities come. We could grow significantly. We could manage that. But we could also downsize if we have to downsize. Right now, with the size of the company, I'm happy, and we got to build on for the next 6 months.
You were talking about a focus on performance and delivery culture. Now you've got all these different identities coming together. As you were saying, these were standalone companies. How have you been able to, in terms of human resource and just continuing to build this culture that you're wanting to build? How has that been going?
Well, look, the problem is they were very diverse. Nobody could tell me what Jasco did. The invested outside there found it very difficult as a small cap to a lot of work to say, Jasco owns 16 companies. We are one company now. It's Jasco ICT, it's Jasco Industry, it's Jasco Industry. It's not a whole lot of bubble names. That's gone. So the cross-selling, the people are in the same building. We took over the Spescom building. It's a very big building, and they're starting to move in there. So the cross-selling culture in terms of using each other's products are there. The culture is going to develop in that way, and that's how we're going to grow this business going forward under one brand.
I want to talk about your three verticals, the ICT carrier solution, the revenue increasing there by 50%, and one of the concerns that seem to be highlighted there is spend by major mobile operators slowing down. Going forward, what are your plans to improve that?
Look, anybody that says that the ICT market is buoyant in terms of the telecom side, I'd like to meet them, because the growth has been and come and it's gone. It's mature. The very good thing about Jasco is that we have a significant small market share. Even with putting the Spescom and the Jasco assets together, we're still very small. So we can go eat somebody's lunch. And that's what we're going to do. Our strategy is to grow our market share in a very stable sort of flat market. It's a very interesting market. Just because it's flat doesn't mean we're not interested. It's a huge market.
Industry solutions, that part of your business, you were talking about it being a difficult market, and then you've already alluded to some of that, and spend by corporate customers in that space of your business was subdued. Expectations in this space going forward?
Look, we want to be in industry because we want to diversify. We've been known as Jasco, even Spescom, as an ICT player. Right now, and we'll come to that, the energy sector is actually bigger than the ICT for the first time, which is fantastic. But we need to play across the board. I'm quite excited about ICT because our market share is low and we can grow. Industry is relatively new. We've gone into fire solutions and security solutions are enhancing, and we're cross-selling amongst that. We're going to go into building automation, and we've just bought Ferrotech, which is power assurance. What's the big problem that South and Southern Africa has got is power availability. And when we have that power, the quality of the power, the assurance of that power. And by the acquisition of Ferrotech, we've plugged that in. So we've completed the value chain there, and I'm quite excited about
When you talk about all these projects, it seems like a lot of projects that are happening side by side, though. Is there a main focus that the company has going forward?
Yes, the three verticals, absolutely. Leadership in ICT, leadership in industry, and leadership in energy.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the concerns that you may have.
Well, look, obviously, what we can't influence. The market, you know what happens, everybody's talking about the African market being quite robust, but I think we do get impacted by what happens either in Americas, Asia, or Europe right now. So that I can't influence. I can only react to that. The other one is to find resources again, specialized resources. I know it's the ongoing issue of South Africans trying to find good, solid engineers, and we've got to do that. I'm very excited about the energy market. I think it's going to outstrip any other market in future. The Department of Energy has shortlisted 28 IPPs, independent power producers for renewable energy. We're going to interact with those. We want to be a value provider to that. And that I see is quite exciting. And I don't see the Department of Energy stopping only at renewables, but they may become the fait accompli, the model of the future. And then the mining sector, you've been talking about that. With our fire solution, security, and power assurance, we want a piece of that cake.
Very quickly, I was looking at your share price right now, just under 3%. When it comes to dividends, investors probably wanting to know from you, what can they expect?
Look, we've committed to a dividend policy of 3 times cover, and we'll continue to do that. So we'll manage our cash in that way so that we can fulfill the investors' expectations.